phasing out coal is the single most important step to get in line with the 1.5-degree goal of the Paris Agreement. This decade might also be when renewable energy overtakes fossil fuel. Every hard-to-abate sector must have an action plan for net zero by 2050 with robust intermediate goals.
Bases are in here.
I forgot about the bases.
Wow, okay.
Oh, nice.
Pretty
Oh,
big
that's-
bits. Yeah.
And then they're going to get drilled.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Okay. That looks pretty good.
Looking between mountains. We were moving towards a material that we would like to be recycled and potentially being recycled at an infinite amount of time.
And it doesn't degrade yet. That's quite an important part, that it's endlessly usable. Yeah, and that's what kind of brought us to starting to use aluminium, really.
The first point we were commenting at and trying to be sustainable with was more at domestic scale, so something that we can relate to on a daily basis. But to get that material in first place, extraction and production is still a big concern.
We were approached by the V&A to present an option as part of a kind of invited competition. More specifically, they'd seen that we've been experimenting with aluminium. So they were looking for designers who had a little bit of expertise, knowing that that was the material being used.
As a commissioner of temporary projects in a museum context, it's really important for us to be aware of the materials that we're using and their life and sustainability. So for the London Design Festival, we're working with infinitely recyclable materials like aluminium, or we're working with materials that had another purpose within the museum, but they're being repurposed now for a new installation or a new project for the London Design Festival.
I think almost it's impossible to say it's not important now, I think. Especially within the art industry, we have such a huge impact.
Aluminium, it's a material that's used in a plethora of industries, from the electric vehicle industry to the aerospace industry to infrastructure. A low carbon economy is impossible without low carbon aluminium. Huge amounts of electricity is required in the smelting process, and that electricity is oftentimes sourced from coal. So globally, aluminium contributes 2% to CO2 emissions, and demand for aluminium is set to grow 7% over the next 5 years, and is set to double by 2050. So that means that if we continue producing aluminium traditionally, then that's not in support of a sustainable low carbon economy. The demand pool created by consumers and businesses can help to make that transition to low carbon aluminium cost effective.
us was quite exciting about the idea that this was this low carbon material. So the fact there's a solution that is being made is really important, because we're going to have to carry on using it. People are going to still keep making window frames and cladding panels and everything.
And I guess
aluminium.
each one of us can do their own little progress on it, but really the big change should come from the big scale production.
Yeah.
This prototype manufacturing process has been in development for the past 10 years. Hydroelectricity is the source of the power for the smelting process, and this reduces its carbon footprint by 85% compared to the world's average. Now, the new production process for low carbon aluminium uses an inert anode technology. So that means that there is no deposition of carbon and only oxygen is produced as a byproduct. It's made in Siberia, Russia. It's from the world's largest lake, Lake Baikal.
We were pretty excited about this Lake Baikal and the place on Earth that we've never been and we would have loved to go.
This is like a very raw thing that's come from somewhere quite extreme, taking this just pure material and converting it into something very delicate and pristine.
We could see that we could understand what we were trying to achieve without knowing exactly the way to get there, and we, I guess, found a way to get there now, hopefully. And luckily the V&A and EM Plus came in. Between Forest and Skies is a piece that is being built by 27 sheets of aluminium. Each one of these sheets has been water jet, and then each piece that is going to be folded out and will become the trunk of the tree or the column of the structure. The process is
It's expressed in its construction and its final output. So what you see is how it's built. The opportunity you get from these openings to be able to kind of look up and down, have bits of the sky reflected down and into your ceiling above you, kind of get this very peculiar, weird space.
It's going to keep changing and reflecting what the surrounding is. If the weather is turning, if there is going to be a cloud passing, it's going to be like, reflecting what the environment is. And it's basically a forest that is going to float between the sky and the reflection of the sky, between what the real world and the reflection of the real world. And that's this dreamlike space that we were trying to envision. Water is a matter of the fact that it's kind of like fil rouge throughout the process. Like the aluminium is being produced using hydroelectric power, water is being used to cut the pieces, and then at the end it's going to sit on top of the pool, where the water and the reflection of the water is going to be a big part of the final outcome and how people will perceive the piece.
We were really taken with Madhavan Brando's sort of simplicity behind the idea, but actually it looks like a structure that's quite unlikely. And then being able to keep the water within that space was something that we were really keen to do, for people to have this feeling of walking water. We hope people will have that sense of kind of the fragility of nature, but also the kind of stability of this material, and it will provoke questions.
The way that we compose the whole thing, it can also look pretty unstable and fragile, and that is part of the whole discussion, right? That we can be optimism because we are aware of this fragility and in not really stable environment we are in.
be able to create the world's first low-carbon aluminium pavilion is really special. I think this pavilion offers us the chance to be optimistic about the future. It offers an alternative path forward.
After this project's happened, its next life is to be decided.
I think it's also quite interesting that the preciousness of this piece, it could just become aluminium windows frame. I think there is some kind of beauty in it.
Yeah.
It just like goes from a piece that was displayed at the garden at the V&A to some domestic, really basic element.
It's sort of a shame that it's a temporary thing and it might not be seen again, but it's also...
It's actually more amazing.
yeah, it kind of becomes something else,
Keep
right?
going.
Yeah.